What makes a film from the 1950s truly timeless? According to legendary critic Roger Ebert, some movies didn't just reflect their era, they shaped the very language of cinema. In this video, we explore the 15 greatest 1950s films he praised for their artistry, influence, and emotional power. Stay with us as we journey through cinematic history, one masterpiece at a time. The Sweet Smell of Success. Roger Ebert once called The Sweet Smell of Success an anguished cry from the heart of darkness, and for good reason. At first glance, it's a sleek jazz-infused tale of newspaper power and ambition, but underneath the surface is a bitter critique of fame, manipulation, and moral decay. The film follows press agent Sidney Falco, a desperate hustler willing to do anything to get his clients mentioned in the influential column of J.J. Hunsaker, played with icy menace by Burt Lancaster. What unfolds is a psychological dance of control, betrayal, and self-destruction set against the grimy neon-lit backdrop of New York nightlife. What made Ebert revere this film wasn't just its plot, it was the language. The screenplay, penned by Clifford Odets and Ernest Lehman, snaps and sizzles with razor-sharp dialogue that still feels lethal today. Ebert praised it for the way it dared to look into the soul of American ambition and find something deeply rotten. Curtis's performance marked a bold departure from his previous pretty boy roles. His Sidney is greasy, twitchy, and devastatingly human. And Lancaster, his portrayal of Hunsaker, cool, cruel, and commanding, is one of the most chilling performances in film history. The chemistry between them is electric, toxic, and unforgettable. Although it flopped at the box office initially, The Sweet Smell of Success became a cult favorite, and later a critical staple, frequently cited by Ebert as one of the great American films. It dared to tell a bitter truth. Success sometimes comes at the cost of your soul. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. When Roger Ebert talked about the bridge on the River Kwai, he often returned to one haunting idea: the madness of honor. This World War II epic isn't just about prisoners building a bridge. It's about how pride can twist into obsession. British Colonel Nicholson becomes so committed to proving British superiority that he inadvertently collaborates with his Japanese captors. What starts as a survival tactic mutates into a chilling portrait of warped morality. Guinness delivers a career-defining performance, portraying a man whose discipline becomes his downfall. Opposite him, William Holden plays the cynical American who sees the situation for what it is and must stop it. The jungle setting, lean sweeping cinematography, and the Oscar-winning score elevated into something mythic. Ebert hailed the film for being about something more than war. It's about the human soul under pressure. It won 7 Academy Awards and became a symbol of prestige filmmaking, yet its power lies in its tragic irony. In the final moments, the explosive realization of Nicholson's fatal pride echoes long after the credits roll. Tokyo Story, 1953. Few films broke Roger Ebert's heart like Tokyo Story. Directed by the quiet master Yasujiro Ozu, this deceptively simple Japanese drama tells the story of an elderly couple who travel to Tokyo to visit their grown children, only to be neglected. It's a film about aging, generational disconnect, and the quiet disappointments of family life. No melodrama, no flashy camera work, just deep, aching truth. Chishu Ryu and Chiko Higashiyama play the parents with such grace and restraint. It's like watching real life unfold. The children, preoccupied with their own lives, slowly reveal a cruelty not through action, but indifference. Ebert called it one of the greatest films ever made, and placed it on his list of great movies, noting how its subtlety makes its emotional impact all the more profound. There's a scene, just a cup of tea, a silence between words that hits harder than any explosion in cinema. Tokyo Story reminds us how beauty can lie in the ordinary, and how heartbreak often hides in politeness. For Ebert, it was a film that didn't try to impress, yet left you forever changed. Singin' in the Rain, 1952. Roger Ebert called Singin' in the Rain the greatest Hollywood musical ever made. It's pure joy in celluloid form, a technicolor dream that dances through cinema history. Set during the tumultuous shift from silent films to talkies, it's a love letter to the industry, packed with infectious energy, comedy, and groundbreaking choreography. Gene Kelly, as Don Lockwood, leaps and spins his way into legend, especially in the unforgettable title number, Soaked in Rain, Elated by Love. Debbie Reynolds, barely 19 at the time, holds her own with dazzling charm, while Donald O'Connor's Make 'em Laugh is an acrobatic miracle of slapstick brilliance. But beyond the spectacle, Singin' in the Rain is also slyly smart. It pokes fun at Hollywood egos, studio politics, and the absurdities of fame, all with a wink and a tap of the foot. Ebert admired its timeless appeal, calling it a film that cheers you up every time you watch it. More than just a musical, it's a celebration of creativity itself. Sunset Boulevard, 1950. Ebert once described Sunset Boulevard as a portrait of madness painted in silver nitrate. And indeed, this noir classic burns with eerie brilliance. It opens with a dead man floating in a swimming pool, narrating his own doom, a bold, macabre move that set the tone for everything that followed. William Holden plays Joe Gillis, a struggling screenwriter who becomes entangled in the decading world of Norma Desmond, a faded silent film star played with unforgettable ferocity by Gloria Swanson. Living in a crumbling mansion with her ex-director turned butler, Norma lives in a dream where she's still a star, and Joe, needing money and shelter, plays along until the fantasy turns deadly. Ebert considered it one of the greatest films ever made about Hollywood. Wilder's writing is caustic and elegant, his direction razor-sharp. Swanson's descent into madness is heartbreaking and terrifying, a performance that defined the phrase, "I am big." It's the pictures that got small. Sunset Boulevard is a tragedy, a satire, and a horror film all rolled into one. It holds a mirror up to the industry and dares it to look away. Rashimon, 1950. Few films redefine storytelling like Rashomon. For Roger Ebert, it was a cinematic revolution where truth was no longer fixed but fractured through human perception. Set in medieval Japan, the film recounts a brutal crime, rape, and murder from four conflicting perspectives, each told by a different witness, each believing their version to be true. What Kurosawa did here wasn't just tell a story, he shattered the very idea of objective reality in cinema. Toshiro Mifune delivers a feral, hypnotic performance as the bandit, while Takashi Shimura grounds the tale as the reflective woodcutter. The cinematography by Kazuo Miyagawa, filming directly into sunlight, moving the camera through the trees, was groundbreaking. And Fumio Hayasaka's eerie score wrapped the entire experience in mystery. Ebert declared it the film that introduced Japanese cinema to the West. But its real legacy is philosophical. What is truth? Can we ever really know it? Rashomon doesn't answer. It challenges you to decide. That's why it still echoes through every courtroom drama, every mystery thriller, and every mind-bending movie that came after. Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. Roger Ebert called James Dean's performance in Rebel Without a Cause a cry of pain from the soul of a generation. This wasn't just another teen drama, it was a cultural lightning bolt. Dean's Jim Stark is angry, lost, and desperate to connect in a world of absent fathers and misunderstood youth. Dressed in a red jacket and pain, he became the face of adolescent alienation. The film doesn't rely on heavy plotting, it breathes through its characters. Natalie Wood's Judy and Sal Mineo's Plato form a makeshift family with Jim, each battling their own emotional traumas. Their bond, fragile and fleeting, gives the film its heartbeat. The iconic knife fight, the planetarium tragedy, the Chicky run, every scene pulses with raw emotion. Ebert noted that this was not just a movie for teens, it was a movie about what it means to be human. It gave voice to the voiceless, and Dean's tragic death shortly after filming only immortalized his tortured brilliance. Rebel Without a Cause didn't just reflect the 1950s. It ripped through its polished surface and exposed its heartbreak. Vertigo, 1958. When Ebert revisited Vertigo, he described it as one of the most haunting love stories ever told, if it is love at all. This wasn't the usual Hitchcock thriller, it was more ghost story than suspense film. James Stewart plays Scotty, a retired detective with acrophobia who falls for a mysterious woman and then tries to recreate her after her apparent death. What begins as romantic obsession spirals into psychological nightmare. Kim Novak's dual performance, ethereal and earthy, embodies the film's dualities. Stuart, usually the upright everyman, is twisted here into someone controlling, fragile, and broken. The film's dreamlike visuals, Bernard Herrmann's hypnotic score, and the eerie spiraling title sequence all contribute to its disorienting effect. Ebert believed Vertigo was misunderstood in its time, but later recognized as Hitchcock's most personal, most complex film. It's not just a mystery, it's about the things we lose, the illusions we chase, and the people we try to turn into ghosts of our past. A slow burn that burrows into your psyche. 12 Angry Men, 1957. Roger Ebert saw 12 Angry Men as a moral epic filmed in a single room. With nothing more than dialogue and close-ups, Sidney Lumet crafted one of the tensest films of the decade. The story is simple. 12 jurors deliberate the fate of a young man accused of murder. 11 vote guilty. One, juror number 8, played with quiet intensity by Henry Fonda, says not guilty, asking only for discussion. As the debate unfolds, tempers flare, prejudices surface, and the cracks in each man's reasoning are revealed. Ebert admired how the film dissected justice, bias, and human fallibility without preaching. The claustrophobic camera work, slowly tightening the frame as tension rises, creates a visceral sense of pressure. Every juror becomes a mirror to the society they represent. It's not about the crime, it's about what kind of people we choose to be when the stakes are high. For Ebert, 12 Angry Men was proof that a film doesn't need action to thrill, it just needs truth. Some Like It Hot, 1959. According to Roger Ebert, Some Like It Hot is one of the enduring treasures of the movies, madcap and subversive, a comedy that still feels edgy. The plot is outrageous. Two musicians witness a mob hit and disguise themselves as women in an all-female band. But what could have been a silly drag farce becomes something deeper, funnier, and slyly progressive. Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis are comedy gold, constantly trying to keep up with their own lies, while Marilyn Monroe as Sugar Cane gives one of her most endearing performances, vulnerable, sexy, and utterly sincere. Wilder's direction balances slapstick with sophistication, and the one-liners are endlessly quotable. Ebert especially loved the ending, when Joey Brown famously responds to Lemon's "I'm a man" with the now iconic, "Well, nobody's perfect." It was more than a punchline. It was a wink to the future, a quiet rebellion against norms. Some, Like It Hot, dared to mix gender politics, gangster action, and screwball chaos, and made it look easy. The Night of the Hunter, 1955. Roger Ebert called The Night of the Hunter one of the scariest and most beautiful films ever made. A commercial failure upon release, this was Charles Laughton's only directorial effort, and yet it became an unshakable piece of cinema history. The film follows a terrifying preacher named Harry Powell, played with chilling intensity by Robert Mitchum, who marries a gullible widow to get at the money her children are hiding. But it's not the plot that haunts you, it's the tone, the shadows, the silent dread. Mitchum's portrayal, complete with love and hate tattooed on his knuckles, is both seductive and sadistic. The story unfolds like a Southern Gothic nightmare, with German expressionist lighting, twisted fairy tale imagery, and moments of grace found only in silence. The children's escape down the river becomes a haunting visual poem, scored by fear and innocence. Ebert praised Laughton for his willingness to experiment, to trust the audience's subconscious, and to craft a film half in reality, half in myth. And at the heart of it all is Lillian Gish, a symbol of goodness and strength, cradling a shotgun and singing a lullaby. The Night of the Hunter is a dream you don't wake from. It just changes you. Paths of Glory, 1957. For Ebert, Paths of Glory was Stanley Kubrick's first great masterpiece, a searing anti-war film that punches you in the gut and doesn't let go. Set during World War I, it follows Colonel Dax, a principled officer who must defend 3 innocent soldiers condemned for cowardice after a failed assault ordered by corrupt superiors. It's a story of bureaucracy, injustice, and the dehumanizing machinery of war. Kubrick's camera tracks through the trenches with precision, creating a suffocating sense of dread. The battle scenes are stark and unsentimental, and the courtroom drama that follows is as maddening as it is heartbreaking. Kirk Douglas's performance is raw, furious, and deeply human. The contrast between his moral clarity and the blind ambition of the generals makes every scene crackle with urgency. Ebert admired how Paths of Glory stripped away the myths of honor and heroism in war. There are no victories here, only men dying for the vanity of others. And the final scene, where a German girl sings to a room of broken soldiers, says more about the tragedy of war than any battlefield ever could. It's one of the most powerful moments in all of cinema. On the Waterfront, 1954. Roger Ebert once said that watching Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront was like witnessing the birth of modern screen acting. Brando plays Terry Malloy, a washed-up boxer turned longshoreman who's caught between loyalty to a corrupt union and his own conscience. It's a film about morality, redemption, and the quiet courage to stand alone. Brando's performance, mumbling, hunched, vulnerable, was revolutionary. In the famous taxi scene, when he says, "I could have been a contender," his heartbreak is so palpable, it redefines screen intimacy forever. Eva Marie Saint, in her film debut, brings tenderness and strength as Edie, the woman who helps awaken Terry's conscience. And Karl Malden's fiery priest delivers the film's moral spine. Ebert praised On the Waterfront for its raw power, its social message, and its boldness. Directed by Elia Kazan, amid controversy over his own testimony during the HUAC hearings, the film brims with personal stakes and societal tension. It won 8 Oscars and remains a cornerstone of American cinema. More than a film, it's a battle cry for dignity in a world ruled by fear. Lstrada, 1954. Ebert called Lstrada a film of complete simplicity and poetic depth. Federico Fellini's heartbreaking parable follows Gelsomina, a gentle childlike woman sold by her impoverished mother to a brutish traveling strongman, Zampano. What unfolds is not just a journey across dusty roads, but a journey through the human condition. Messina's performance is one of the most tender and devastating in film history. Her wide, expressive eyes radiate innocence and longing, while Quinn Zampano is raw, wounded, and violent. Their relationship is tragic, marked by cruelty and silent yearning. When tragedy finally strikes, Zampano is left to confront a loneliness that feels almost cosmic. Ebert admired the film for its emotional purity. It doesn't rely on plot twists or grand spectacle. Instead, Lstrada touches the soul with its music, its symbolism, and its devastating final moments. It was Fellini's breakthrough, earning him an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and paving the way for his later masterpieces. But many still believe Lstrada is his most heartfelt work, a symphony of sadness and spiritual longing. The Seventh Seal, 1957. At the top of Ebert's 1950s list stood a film that dared to question existence itself. The Seventh Seal begins with a knight returning from the Crusades, only to find his homeland ravaged by plague and death waiting for him on the shore. Instead of fleeing, the knight challenges death to a game of chess, hoping to find meaning in a silent god. Max von Sydow's knight is stoic, tortured, and searching for something, anything that will explain the suffering he's seen. Bengt Ekerode, as Death, is calm, courteous, and inevitable. The cinematography is stark and haunting, the imagery iconic, the chess game, the dance macabre, the burning of a supposed witch. Every frame feels like a question. Ebert revered Bergman for making a film that was both deeply philosophical and deeply cinematic. The Seventh Seal is not about religion. It's about doubt, fear, and the quiet need to believe in something. In a time of global anxiety and post-war despair, it gave audiences permission to ask the hardest questions. And it answered them not with certainty, but with poetry. That's what made it unforgettable. These films weren't just praised, they were revered by Roger Ebert for a reason. They challenged conventions, moved audiences, and left legacies that still echo through modern cinema. If you haven't seen them yet, you haven't truly seen the power of film. Which of these masterpieces moved you the most? Let us know.